Wega no Agirono, and welcome to another episode of Straight Talk. I'm Michael Stock Sr., and with me is...
Jessica Deere.
Ross Montour.
You sure? This week we're going to cover, again, a number of topics. I just want to touch quickly on Jessica's new show. I had seen it.
It's not my new show.
Congratulations. You know what? The new show. What's it called?
Exposed.
Exposed. And?
It went really well. The first episode aired last week, and the other youth panelists are Peter Deere and Taylor Goodleaf, and on our next episode we should have another panelist, so you'll have to tune in.
And you won't tell us, huh?
Yep.
So it's a youth show.
Yes. It's kind of like Straight Talk, but with youth and I guess what's important to us.
How different is the dialogue? And don't say, well, you'll have to listen. You can give us a little insight.
Well, it's just that, obviously has a more youth tone to it, and we obviously have different experiences, and it's just a bit different.
What's some of the comments that you received from that show since it aired?
I haven't received any comments
None?
yet.
Oh my God. So you don't know then if the youth are actually watching?
Not yet,
Oh.
but hopefully we'll find out within the weeks to come.
So are you working to create the buzz?
Yes, watch Exposed.
Yeah, no. You know why I say that is because a lot of times at home we talk about the fact that teenagers, they seem to be functioning in their own world. They have their own way of communicating. I mean, the cell phones, the texting, they know about stuff before anybody else knows about it. So they have their own network altogether, and it may not be regular TV. Sitting around watching that, or so it would seem to me that's part of what needs to happen.
I think that once the show starts getting its momentum and you start including, talking about maybe an upcoming band that's going to be on and showing some clips of that or doing small stuff like that, and I think that it'll take on almost like the KYTV when we first started it. It had all that mix with the young, and a lot of people liked it.
How much of it would be political?
Well, it really depends from week to week what we feel we want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And like sometimes we do want to talk about political stuff. Like the youth do have an opinion on some of those issues. So
yeah.
we want to get those out there, as well as like social issues or stuff like music. Or I know we thought about talking about tattoos one week and stuff like that.
I think it'd be useful for adults to watch it, older people actually watch and actually get a chance to see what...
a little bit of insight on what's going on
at least
in their
what some of the
minds.
young people are talking about and
What's the
what
concerns,
they're feeling.
and I think that for our generation, it is a concern to know what are the concerns of the younger generation and what are we doing or what can we do to bolster what direction that they want to go in the future, and that's something that we have to look at. But next week the show comes on, so back on. So if you haven't seen it, next week, Exposed, we'll have a new episode, and make sure that you watch it. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is my weekend, and only because it was like, there was so much emotions involved in it. My daughter had, she's 14 months, and she had choked maybe about 5 months ago at a restaurant. And like we were eating, and she had choked, and we thought she choked on noodles. Anyway, it was always like, and it was a complete obstruction. I removed it, and it seemed to be fine, but she developed a cough. And she was always coughing and coughing and coughing for, it would come and go, and then we didn't know what it was. Then she started to get like really bad breath. It's like, what is that? So Regan went online, and she's like, well, maybe that there was something obstructing parts of her airway, and it was was getting rotten or something. So we went to the hospital in town, and Dr. Horn had looked, and she wasn't able to see anything, but she goes, yeah, there may be something there. So she gave her an antibiotic and a saline flush to see if it'll work. Anyway, after about 10 days, it subsided a bit, but it didn't go away. She referred us to Dr. Saylor. He's a pediatrician at Montreal Children's, and he's from this community. But, he's booked, all the time, and I think it was almost a month that we were going to see him. So one weekend, I had enough. She's so small, and she was like that. So I brought her to the Children's, and they checked her out, and they sent her for blood tests, X-rays, and all. They still weren't sure. They were thinking that maybe it was bronchitis or something else, but for me, the smell, it was like a deep, strong, like a smell, and I was like, I think there's something in there.
Did they have anything to offer?
They weren't sure. They just were trying to do all these different kind of tests to try to eliminate it, because they listened to her lungs, and there was air was going in and out, and it was not a problem, So I think they didn't rule it out. But I don't think that they were looking as aggressive with that, because she had no other signs. She wasn't having a fever. She wasn't getting different things.
She had this cough.
But she had a constant cough, So to make a long story short, we had done X-rays, and on Wednesday of last week, Dr. Saylor called me, and he says, you know what? I want to redo her chest X-rays because it seems like there's something there, but I'm not sure. So I went in on this past Friday, and they done another X-ray, and he said it looks, it looks better than the first one. But it just so happened that she's starting to get a cold, so that cough could persist, like almost nonstop on Friday. So he was a little more concerned with that. So he sent us to ENT and to a lung specialist that day, and they weren't sure, but they didn't want to rule it out, and they said, you know what, let's go and look. So they scheduled us for emergency surgery, but they couldn't do it right away because you have to go on a list. So they called us that night. We went home, so they called us that night at 11:30. Come on in. We went in. We thought they were going to do it. Anyway, they did it the next day. They found a bone in her lung. And she's 14 months, so her lungs are probably only this big. But the bone was almost 2 inches long.
Holy moly.
And it was like banana shaped. And then there was two pieces. One was caught like in the upper lobe, and then the longer bone was caught in the lower lobe of her lung. And it was trapping air. That's how they were able to find it. And surprising, they removed it and everything was fine. They didn't have, they went down with a tube and they looked in there and they were able to grab it and take it out, and she's good. I mean, it was the first on Saturday was the first time that I've heard her sleep through the whole night, because we slept at the hospital without coughing. So it was a scary thing, but I think it was the persistence of saying, there's something there, and then, Dr. Horn, making a referral because she felt that there might have been, and then for Dr. Saylor to say, you know what, I want to take that, let's pushing, let's go to do it, and it was, I don't know what would happen if.
Well, it's a good thing you guys were being vigilant about this, but at home, Lynn's daughter, Sarah, who's special needs, she's had a cough now for over a year, and we're in that process right now of trying to figure out, in fact, this morning, trying to get a referral, X-rays, and to this day, we still don't know what it is. But it nags at you. I mean, it's frustrating as a parent to have to, especially a child so young, it's like, really, she's helpless. I mean, well, thank goodness that you were on top of it. And
the thing is that, you don't know. We thought it was a noodle, and she might have picked up something else off the table, or as she was sitting next to my other son, and he's a little bit older, so he might have we don't know. But at the end of the day, it's vigilance on the parents, and getting the doctors to do that, and then the doctor is saying that, okay, let's go and do it, and done, But I'd like to thank Dr. Horn and Dr. Saylor for you know, for being that vigilant and saying, let's do it. I don't know what could happen, you know?
Well, you don't, and that's the thing.
We're gonna take a break, and we'll be back right after these messages.